This practice is using the model to show division. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide the numerator. So here we have 8 over 9 divided by 4. So what does that look like first? Okay, so we're going to use a grid and use a grid to represent an 8 over 9 fraction. So I'm just going to do my numerator. So my denominator is 9. I'm going to show a 3 by 3 grid. Okay, so that's my 3 by 3 grid, which gives me 9 parts whole. And then I want to shade 8 over 9. Okay, so I'm going to shade 8 over 9. It's going to be these parts here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that green then represents the 8 over 9. So 8 counters is going to represent 8 over 9 parts whole. And I'm going to then divide by 4. So this really means I'm going to take the 8 parts and I'm going to divide it by 4. So dividing by 4 into groups of 4, I get one group here, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so each group, and maybe I'll use a different color here, each group has 2 parts in it. Okay, those are my 4 groups, and each group has 2 counters in each group. So each of the 4 groups is going to be 2 out of the 9 parts whole. So 8 over 9 divided by 4 is dividing the 8 parts into 2. So I get 2 on top and 9 on bottom. Okay, because the size of the fractions don't change when I regroup them. This next one, 2 over 9 divided by 4. So first of all, I'm going to draw my 2 over 9 fraction. So I'm going to do the same thing here. There's my ninths fraction. And I want 2 ninths, so I'm just going to shade 2 of them. Now the problem is, if I'm going to divide 2 divided by 4, can we divide 2 counters into 4 groups? Well, the answer is no. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change this into equivalent fraction, and I'm going to times by 2 on top and bottom to get 4 out of 18. So that's going to look like this. I'm going to just split these all into 2 parts. So now I have 4 parts shaded out of 18 parts whole. So now I can divide the numerator by 4. So if I do 4 over 18 divided by 4, really this is 4 divided by 4. And what I'm going to end up with is, I'm going to end up with this one part here. So that's going to be the 4 parts divided by 4 gives me that one part. Okay, these are divided into 4 parts. So think of sharing one counter of 18 between 4 people. Okay, or sorry, in this case, we're going to have 4 counters, 4 of those shared between 4 people, and each of those people is going to have one counter. That's what I have here. Each one of those is going to be 1, and now my denominator is not out of 9, but 18 that make up the whole. So when I have a numerator that's not divisible by that 4, I can make it divisible by making it into an equivalent fraction first. So 8 over 9 divided by 4 gives us 2, sorry, not 2, yes, 2. That's going to give us 2 over 9, because we can start with 8 over 9 and divided the 8 pieces into 4, that's groups of 2. And if I want to see how this works with my multiplying by reciprocal, I can do this up here. So 8 over 9, divide, I change to times, 4, I change to reciprocal, 1 over 4. That gives me 8 out of 36. I can simplify that fraction, divide by 4, and I end up with 2 over 9, and notice that that's the same answer I get here. The same here, I get 2 over 9. Instead of divide by 4, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. I end up with 2 over 36. I'm going to divide by 2, I get 1 over 18. So this strategy is the one we want to use most of the time, but the visual that we're doing for this is going to be dividing the numerator into equal parts. So lastly here I have 5 over 6. I have 5/6 of a can of paint to cover 4 walls. So I have 5/6 divided by 4. Now, since 5 is not divisible by 4, what we can do is we can multiply by 4 like that, 4 over 4, and so we end up with 5 times 4, 6 times 4, and we get 20 over 24. Now I can divide by 4. So I'm going to divide this by 4. So I get 24 divided by 4. I'm going to end up with 5. 20 divided by 4 is 5 parts over 24. So the answer is going to be 5 over 24. So we want to get a numerator divisible by that whole number, and then we can do it that way. Again, if I were to do this normally, it's going to be 5 over 6. Instead of divide, we're going to change it to times 1 over 4. And that gives us top times top, bottom times bottom. And again, notice that that answer matches the original answer. So come up with a problem for 2/3 divided by 4, and then I want you to solve that problem and show the steps.